This man went as far as experimenting with his daughters to prove he was right. He wanted to give a definitive answer to a question that has been debated for centuries. Are geniuses born or are they made? Yet, no one could have predicted the insane results of his experiment. Hello, storyticians. Today, you are going to listen to an unbelievable story that turned scientists on their heads. Many of us dream of becoming smarter, maybe even geniuses. Today's story is exactly about that. Are you and I determined by our genes? Or could we become real geniuses? There once was a man that dedicated his life, and that of his daughters, to prove that geniuses could be made, though he might have gone too far to prove it. Why was he so obsessed with this debate? Well, the question, are geniuses born or made, has been around for centuries. It is commonly known as the nature versus nurture debate. Some people think that our parents pass on their traits to us through their genes, which already carry the information necessary to define our intelligence, heights, looks, and many other characteristics. Other people think the opposite. They think that we are mainly defined by our life experiences. So, what did Laszlo do? Because he wasn't allowed to experiment with other people's children, he decided to have his own and raise them to be authentic geniuses. You know, just an ordinary Wednesday. He decided that he was going to charm a woman with his master plan so that she agrees to have children with him and to test out his theories. To be fair to Laszlo, he had dedicated a whole chunk of his life to research. It is here where we begin this crazy story. It was around 1964 that a Hungarian researcher that went by the name of Laszlo Polgar presented a theory stating that top performers were made, not born. The theory wasn't well received, so he decided that he himself would dedicate his life and that of his children to carry out an experiment that would finally prove that geniuses could be made. He didn't have to wait long to find a Ukrainian teacher called Klara who was convinced by Laszlo's plans and jumped on board. Their first child was born in 1969. Her name was Sophia Polgar, and her life would turn out to be one of the most interesting stories we have ever heard. For them to prove if the experiment was successful, Laszlo and Klara Polgar had to choose an area and a set of skills that could be objectively measured. They decided to train their children to be master chess players. You see, chess is a really complicated game that takes great skill to master. It is estimated that there are more than 10 to the power of 111 possible configurations of a chess game. This would be the actual number written down. To put that into perspective, there are more possible configurations of a chess game than there are atoms in the whole observable universe. They now had a complex activity. Conveniently, chess also had an objective ranking system to see how their daughters were performing. The playfield was ready, so the experiment started. Susan was introduced to chess at a very young age. She was already interacting with the game on a daily basis by the age of 2. She had no choice but to commit hours upon hours to this game. The Polgar's house was full of chess books, articles, magazines, pictures, records, documents, boards, toys, etc. There was nothing else to see other than chess. There was not much else to think about. By the young age of 5, Susan entered a local tournament where most players were double her age. This was the first trial, the first test of the experiment. Obviously, they were all nervous. Susan had been playing daily for years. The experiment was going as planned. But would it have the results they were expecting? Susan was too young to be taken seriously. Plus, at the time, women were not considered as good as men in terms of chess mastery. But, to everyone's surprise, she won the first game. The Polgars were probably jumping in their seats. The next game came along. Maybe it wasn't time to celebrate. At least, not yet. Or was it? As Susan won that one too, and then another one, and then another one. She won every single game in the tournament, leaving her first competitive experiment with a clean 10-0 score. This trend continued throughout Susan's professional chess career. Just 10 years later, by age 15, she was ranked as the top female player in the world. She also became a chess grandmaster by the age of 30 and broke many world records on the way there, such as being the first woman to qualify to the Men's World Championship. Was it settled then? Did Laszlo finally prove his theory that decades ago caused him so much criticism? Can you and I finally become geniuses? Let's not get ahead of ourselves, as there is even more to this story. Remember when I said he experimented with his daughters? Well, yeah, he had more than one. Many thought that Susan was just an extremely lucky case. We will have to dive into the stories of Sophia and Judit, the other two daughters of Laszlo and Klara Polgar. Their second daughter, Sophia, had similar experiences to those of her sister Susan. She was taught chess by her father, but she was also able to play with her sister, who was already a more experienced player. Sophia started developing her own chess career. At age 14, she won a tournament held in Rome where high-level players and grandmasters were competing. Her performance was so good that it was considered the 5th best in chess performance history, and it was given the name of the Sack of Rome. Also, Sophia was eventually ranked as the 6th best female player in the world. Judith, Laszlo's third daughter, was born in a similar environment as her sisters were, and she was trained just as them, maybe except for the fact that her older sisters were already world-class chess players. Judith was obsessed with the game of chess, although she didn't just treat it like a game. Just like her sisters, she showed impressive skills from a young age, beating adversaries much older than her. At age 12, she broke the world record for being the youngest person to break into the top 100 players. At age 15, she broke the world record for the youngest person ever, male or female, to break into the rank of Grandmaster, a record previously held by legendary player Bobby Fischer. Just for you to have an idea of who Judith is in the world of chess, listen to some of her accomplishments. She is the only woman who has won against the reigning champion of chess. She beat Bobby Fischer and other world champions, such as Anatoly Karpov, Vladimir Kramnik, and Vishwanathan Anand. She is the only woman who has gone above 2,700 ELO points in the chess ranking system, and she is all around considered to be the best female player in history. She broke and holds many world records to this day. By many people's standards, Judith and her sisters Susan and Sophia were true geniuses in the game of chess. They certainly fit the definition of genius. So what did this mean for Laszlo's theories, the nature versus nurture debate, and the behavioral sciences as a whole? In the scientific community, Laszlo's experiment is regarded as one of the most impactful to what we know about human learning. In his words, any child has the innate capacity to become a genius in any chosen field, as long as the education starts before their 3rd birthday and they begin to specialize at 6. The debate still continues, but there is general agreement that human behavior is the result of both our nature and nurture. Congratulations, Laszlo, you've proved your point. Maybe we haven't found a way for us to become geniuses, but we have an idea about how to raise them. What do you think? Are geniuses born or made? Was Laszlo Polgar's experiment immoral or unethical? With this, today's story ends. If you're anything like us, you can't get enough of these incredible stories. We're sure you'll like this one. A paraglider blacked out while blown 30,000 feet in the air by freezing cold winds. Her body reacted in a way that left experts puzzled. Click here to watch that now. If you like what we're doing here, please consider becoming a storytician by subscribing to this channel. Now, keep writing the most interesting of all stories, the story of your life. See you next time.